Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get the program started because I know we have students here who need to get back to class. And also we're joined by some folks from the hospital, and I know they get back to work as well. Good morning. Is it still morning? My name is John Holloway, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Emory & Henry, the Emory campus. I've been here for January, makes the completion of my 5th year in this wonderful region we call Southwest Virginia. A little interesting tidbit is that my family and I, we live in Marion, and we've lived here now almost for 2 years, I believe. So it's nice to have this event and also to be, in many ways, closer to the students at the Health Sciences campus. But to have it here in this historic facility is outstanding. And so I'm really excited about today and today's presentation. Let me say just real quickly a couple of things about today. So many of you know that the main campus, or the Emory campus, has been doing the convocation, the tradition, for many years. And I believe that there's been sort of a expectation that the students at the Health Sciences campus would sort of join in, and I think maybe on occasion we've had either reserved seats for some of the students and maybe even have streamed as well in the past. But there's been a sort of a groundswell of growing interest, mostly from our students, which I'm really excited about. But our students, the administration at the Health Sciences campus, and our faculty, to do something sort of personally for our community, or your community, for the MLK. And so this is actually an exciting time because this represents the launching of, I hope, to be a growing Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Program for this campus. And so, folks, we are sitting right now in perhaps a bit of a history, the beginning and the breaking of history for the future, because this will be identified as one of the first. And so can you please give yourselves a hand for participating in the first sort of MLK for the Health Sciences campus? Also, I'm going to get out of the way real soon, but I do want to thank a few people who made this possible. I believe that I would be amiss if I did not mention that it was during the late part of the fall semester that I met with some of the students from the Health Sciences DEI initiative, and we brainstormed things that we wanted to do for today. And so I really want to thank those students who really have been a strong presence with the growing intentional DEI programming efforts for the Health Sciences campus. You all are awesome. I think that each time I make that trip from the Emory campus to the Marion campus, I'm thrilled. I'm energized, and I really want to see a difference for you all at the campus. I also want to thank Dr. Jones, our pianist. Can you please give Dr. Jones some appreciation? Dr. Jones, if you don't know, he is a retired faculty person at the at the Emory campus, served for many years, and is from Southwest Virginia. But this is a first for him. He has never been in this facility before, but this is a first for him. I also want to thank Dr. Barfield, who helped to sort of arrange, make this happen, submit many of the posters and emails, and just encourage students to come. Thank you so very much for your assistance, and also for Karen Alley. Karen, are you still here? Thank you so much for handling the logistics and making this possible as well. So, in any case, I'm going to introduce Kaylee Gary. Kaylee is, give a hand. Kaylee is a first-year PA student, and she's going to say a few words about the DEI initiative on the campus and as well. So after she speaks, I will come up again and to provide an intro for our speaker for the occasion. Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks to all the students for coming out. This is a really good turnout. I'm here to drop a quick plug for DEI. We meet first Thursday of the month every month. It's in our lunch break. I know we all have the same 11:30 to 1 lunch break. Like Dr. Holloway said, we came up with this idea during a meeting, and we would love your help in the future. We're always looking to recruit. In the coming months, we have Black History Month and we have Pride Month, and I feel like we could really go big with those events. Hispanic History Month was a big success, but I think we can definitely knock these next few months out of the park. If anyone wants to join, you can hit up me, Lindsay, any of your class reps who are in DEI, and you can always shoot Dr. Holloway an email. So thank you guys for coming out, and thank you, Dr. Lyn, for speaking.
Thank you, Kaylee. Just to say one more thing about that, I mean, I think the students, it's a great Thursday because we have an opportunity to really pull all the students together from all the different programs. And so I think something magical is happening, and please, let's keep up the good work. And it's John Holloway, once again. The students love giving me my final sort of conclusion of my PhD, but it's John Holloway now. So I am excited to introduce our speaker for the occasion, Dr. Jenna Lyn. Dr. Jenna Lyn was born and raised in New York. Homegirl. She attended Howard University, where she was first introduced to public health. She graduated with a Bachelor of Science from Southern Connecticut State University with honors. From there, she obtained her master's in healthcare administration from Hofstra University, where she graduated cum laude. Throughout this time, she volunteered as an emergency medical technician, a dance teacher, maybe we should talk about that a little bit, a dance teacher, and served as a mentor to children in the New York City foster care system, as she is a product of this system herself. She attended the University of Medicine and Health Sciences in St. Kitts, combining her love for the Caribbean with her desire to become a physician. Currently, Dr. Lyn is a family medicine resident at Johnston Memorial Hospital in the Dr. S. Hughes Melton Family Medicine Residency Program. After this, she plans on completing a fellowship in obstetrics, In her spare time, Dr. Lyn enjoys spending time with her husband, daughter, and puppy. She enjoys outdoor activities, hanging out with her friends, traveling, and cooking new recipes for her family. Emery and Henry, can you please give a warm welcome to Dr. Jenna Lyn.
Good morning. So, I just want to say thank you for inviting me out, first and foremost. It's an honor to be here on your convocation ceremony and to give this speech. I want to thank, I'm going to call things that will be as they are, Dr. Holloway and Mrs. Holloway and Miss Elliott and everyone who helped plan this program to get it together for me to be here to speak to you guys. So, like I do with my patients, I'm going to do a rundown of what we're going to do today, and then we'll move on. So I'm going to give you a little background about who I am, how I got here, because it wasn't the conventional route, and then some tips and things that I think will help you moving forward, not only as a professional, but getting through school, because that's where you guys are now, and it's hard. And after that, I'm down to answer any questions that you guys might have. So, like from my bio, born and raised in New York, I was accepted to Howard University for biology, where I said that I was going to study medicine and be a bio major. At Howard, it's a historically Black college. It's a convergence place for a lot of different people, a lot of different walks of life. And I think I was astonished by the fact that everybody who was going to do medicine, everybody who was going to do law wasn't doing the cookie cutter path. They all had these interesting backgrounds and interesting stories, and I felt like I hadn't found that for myself yet, and so that's why I started looking for something else. I mean, I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't understand why I had to take astrology or marine biology. No. So it wasn't working for me. Decided to do public health because I felt like it would give me a platform to know how to speak to the public about healthcare matters, as well as giving me the requirements that I need. You guys know you have your math, your science, your all that good stuff that you have to have if you're going into healthcare. So I found that major at the Southern Connecticut State University in Connecticut, finished my major there, and continued on thinking I was going straight to med school. Huge problem. Like I said, my route to med school was not cookie cutter. The first time I took my MCAT, it was an eye-opening experience. You guys take exams. You know how it is to open an exam and be like, y'all learned this? I didn't learn this. They didn't teach me this. So first time was a huge flop. And you know, those failures will come and you take them in stride, and I had to revamp what I was doing. Started volunteering as an EMT because I was able to do that at the time, which was an amazing experience, really opened my eyes to different walks of medicine while I studied for my MCAT again. Took my MCAT again, better experience, but just not what the US schools wanted. Did not at any point see myself applying to anything else. I was just gonna try again. Somehow, some way, somebody told me to apply to a Caribbean medical school. And in the beginning, I was just like, so I don't know about that. Applied anyway because we were between a rock and a hard place. And it was one of the best decisions I could have made, deterring from what I thought I had to do into what ended up being what I did, which was going to the University of Medicine and Health Sciences in St. Kitts. Completely different experience, completely different outlook on medicine, learning somewhere that literally looks like the screensaver on your Mac. It was amazing. So great opportunity, and I loved every moment of it. Came back to the States, finished my tests, got accepted into a residency program, which is the goal of medicine, to get into residency so you can be a doctor. At the end of the day, if you don't do residency, you can't practice. So, and here we are. And I say that to say that every route to the end does not have to be what you think it's supposed to be. It's a huge thing, especially in healthcare. A lot of people make you feel as if you don't take this certain route to get to the end that you're not gonna get there, and that's not true at all. I feel like everyone has their own story, everyone has their own journey there, and whatever route you take, you take. It's just like your GPS. I just got an iPhone. This thing shows me 4 different ways to get to one place every time. It doesn't matter which way I take, I'm still gonna end up at Walmart at some point or another. So it's the same thing with getting into whatever route of medicine you're getting to, as long as it fits what you have in mind for yourself. I know that this is an MLK convocation, and whenever you think of Dr. King, you always think of the I Have a Dream speech. That's always the first thing your mind goes to. And when I think of medicine and the dream that I had, a very wise person once said, don't allow your dream to become your nightmare, because it can very quickly change. And that is all determined by yourself and how you approach medicine, because you guys are entering medicine in a time where everything is changing. Everything. Like, how many times have y'all heard different COVID protocols in the last 2 days? Like, it changes every half an hour. What you're doing, what you have to do, what you have to prescribe, who needs a vaccine, who doesn't need a vaccine, who's too young for a vaccine, who's too old for a vaccine, who, got too much hair for a vaccine, who, eat too much rice for a vaccine. It changes every day. It's a lot. And so I applaud you for still wanting to go into medicine at this time, and I applaud you for taking the challenge, because it is a challenge that we face every day. And so with that, I just want to go into some tips and things that I learned going through medicine that I think will help you guys. So first thing first, biggest thing that I think I learned, first semester of med school, I had a teacher tell me, "You have never studied everything." And I was just like, "No, sir, that's a lie. I have the book, I read the chapters, I did the questions you told me to do, I have gone through all the reading, and I've studied everything." And just like that moment with the first MCAT, the test came, and I looked at everybody else like, "Y'all learned this?" Because I didn't learn this. You will never have mastered everything. There is a reason why they call medicine a practice. It's not just a profession, it is a practice, because every day you will be learning, you will be tailoring that knowledge that you have. And so be comfortable knowing that in this field, there is always something for you to read. There is always something for you to catch up on. There is always going to be a better way that you can do something, and that your knowledge has to continue to grow. Just like how you guys are here getting a credit for this, even while you practice, you will still need continuing credits. You will still need continuing education. Be comfortable knowing that you have not learned everything, because it will keep you hungry. Moving on. You are going to make mistakes. Just because you finish the program and you have your piece of paper and you have your requirements and somebody's giving you a paycheck every 2 weeks on the 1st and 15th does not mean that you know everything. And because of that, you will make a mistake. I make mistakes all the time. And the biggest thing about those mistakes is to, 1, learn from them, and to 2, own up to them. It's a huge thing to make an error in medicine, and it's very easy to be hard on yourself because of that. But what makes it easier is when you go to that patient and you said, "Hey, you know what? I think we did something that we should do differently, and I think that this is what we should do, and this is why we should do it, and this is why I don't want to do what we said we were going to do before." Not only does that take the ownership of what's going on, but it also lets the person you're treating, the person you're talking to, know that you actually understand what you're doing and you care about the fact that you may have made a wrong decision. So it's very huge to be able to own up to that and know that you're going to make mistakes. Another thing I learned, you have to become a team player. Medicine is a team sport. It is like having a race car and you have a pit crew, and everyone on that crew has a task. And no one's task is more important than the other. Because if I don't have someone to change the tires, the car is not going to go. If my driver is down, my car is not going anywhere. If I don't have a tech to fix my engine, it's not going to go anywhere. And it's the same thing in medicine. We have to operate as a team. PAs and PTs and OTs and nurses, you guys know stuff that I will never know. Period, end of story, hands down, I cannot do it. And if we don't work together, at the end of the day, the patient suffers. And anyone who's in healthcare is in healthcare because they want to help somebody, and the best way to do that is with a team. Which leads me to my second point. Respect everybody, from the janitor to the cleaning lady to the nurses to the patient's husband who refused to keep his mask on to the CEO. Everybody gets respect. I'm not saying you have to like them. I'm not saying you have to be their friend. I'm not saying you guys got to kiki and go down to Bristol and have a good time, but you have to respect them, because at the end of the day, you are a team, and you guys are going to need each other to get through things. You're going to need each other to complete the care for that person. And so that teamwork is going to be 100% necessary. And also being able to pitch hit for somebody else. If I'm at the hospital and I have a patient and my nurse is busy, or the staff is short, which is a very common thing, and someone asks you to draw blood, someone asks you to get vitals, it is your duty, if you know how to do that, to go ahead and do it for that patient, because it's something that, 1, needs to be done, and 2, there's nothing too big or too small for any job in healthcare, because at the end of the day, you're doing it for the patient. And so being able to respect your coworker, but at the same time be able to help them out, is a huge thing. Something else, you will learn as much from your peers as you will from your seniors. Just because they're in the same class as you does not mean that they don't know something that you don't know. Humble yourself. Be able to ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, because you know what your deficiency is and you're able to say, hey, I need to know this. Prime example, everybody, almost 85% of my patients have diabetes. That's just what it is. It's a common thing. I cannot manage insulin off the top of my head like some of my co-interns. They got it like that, and I take my hat off to them. That's great. Me, I need a calculator. I gotta figure this out. I need to know all different types of things. Just because that's my co-intern doesn't mean that I can't turn to them and say, hey, I got this patient with a blood glucose of XYZ, and I need help. Why? Because at the end of the day, that help not only helps me understand it better, but I'm helping the patient. And so being able to ask your peers and your seniors for help is a huge thing, and you can learn the same from both. I learn more actually from the nurses on some of the floors than I do from the doctors, because they're busy and they have their own patients, and the nurses know the patients better, and they're able to fill in holes and fill in pictures that I couldn't do myself. And so being able to learn from everyone around you is also huge. Going back to being a team player, and this is something big for me, and respecting people, not meaning that you have to like them, but it does mean that, especially in the eye of the patient, that you put respect where respect is due. A lot of patients will come to you and say, oh, I don't like that nurse that did X, Y, Z. And it's not, I feel like it's not our place to say, well, yeah, I don't like them either. No, it's to say that, well, maybe everybody does stuff differently, and this is just how she thought it should be done. And I apologize that it didn't come across that way, because as a team and being a team player and respecting everybody also means upholding their decisions in front of the other patients, and it also means backing them up when they need to be backed up. We don't tear down our teammates. We don't throw them under the bus. We don't, And if you think somebody did something wrong, it's your responsibility to pull them to the side and say, hey, why did you do this? Because maybe in their eyes, what they did wasn't wrong. They just had a different explanation for doing it. And so a part of being a team player and being respectful is not only keeping people on their toes about what they're doing, but also being able to ask them why they did something, not just assuming that they made a mistake, but also trying to understand the motive behind it. Something a lot of people tell me all the time is, you're a doctor, you must be making a lot of money. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if y'all are doing this for the money, find another major. Right now, because the check only comes twice a week. You gotta go to work every day. You have to love what you're doing. You have to want to be at work. People know when you don't want to be around them. You guys know what the stank face is. You know what it is to come and say, I don't care if you have a mask on. You guys know what it is when it's just like, good morning, how can I help you? Nobody wants that. Like, especially at the hour that we go into a patient's room at 7 o'clock in the morning, nobody wants that. So if you're doing it for the money and the money is not there, then what's gonna drive you to be your best that day? You cannot do it for the money. You have to do it for the love of the job. You have to do it for the love of wanting to help somebody or being able to use your skill to move them along, whether you might not be helping every patient in the hospital, but what you do for that one patient means everything to that one patient. And so having that actual genuine, I want to do this instead of, so it's actually 5:55 and I get off at 6, so I can't do this for you, is completely different from, it's 5:55, but you know what, you want that glass of water? I'm gonna grab that for you and then be done with it. I mean, having the want to behind it just changes how everything comes across. And for yourself, don't forget yourself in the process of becoming what you want to become. Don't forget, to be Jenna while I'm still in the process of becoming Dr. Lyn, family medicine obstetrician. Take time for yourself. Enjoy your weekends off. That is your time. That is your time to close your book, go for a walk, do something, enjoy yourself. Because if you get completely tied up in your job, you will get exhausted. And burnout is a huge thing in medicine. Working nonstop and forgetting that you have a life. You love, Adele. You love to bake. You love to do this. Always take time for yourself. Make sure that you're keeping yourself healthy. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And so if you are deficient of something, if you are lacking, at the end of the day, your patients will be lacking because you're not giving 100% of yourself. So on my day off, I'm not saying don't study. Don't tell your teachers I said don't study because you need time for yourself. I'm not saying don't study. I'm saying prioritize your time. Get your studying done, then go watch a movie. Go shopping. Get on Amazon. Oh, don't get on Amazon, but get on Amazon, do what makes you happy. Do that thing that makes you happy so that when you go back to work, you have refilled that battery for yourself as well. That's huge for me. Another thing that has gotten me through a lot of hard times, other than the things that I've told you, and this sounds corny, but I have a theme song, y'all. I have a theme song. I'll tell you what it is. You can borrow mine if you need it. It's Moment for Life by Nicki Minaj. Whatever. That is my hype song. That is it's day 21 of 30 of internal medicine, and I am feeling like I'm dying on the inside, and I need something to push me through. That is my song. That's my go-to. I put it in my ear. Even if I go stand in the bathroom and go listen to it. I listened to it before I came out here. I was in the bathroom back there with it on my phone. That's my go-to song. And I implore you to get a go-to song, I call it my theme song, because it's gonna get hard. It gets harder than it does in school because for me, when you were in school, you had a backup. You had a teacher to ask, you had a study group, you had something that you could rely on, and there was a way that you could, the consequences were all your own. If I failed a test, nobody lost a kidney, nobody's kidneys were shot, nobody's oxygen was trash. I didn't leave potassium running for 4 days and this man has had diarrhea and it's my fault. No, this is your learning time and the consequences are your own. But when you guys get out there and you're practicing and you make mistakes, those consequences become bigger. And it takes a toll on yourself. Like, it's very easy to be hard on yourself. And so being able to find those moments when you can, what we call in the Caribbean, big up yourself, hype yourself up, those are gonna become so important to you because keeping yourself grounded is one of the main things you can do to get through the day. And so your hype song is gonna help you through that. Pick something you can listen to at work. Try not to find something with all the curses because you can't listen to that at work. But find a hype song. Find something that you could play to pull you back to where you need to be. And those are most of my tips. And it's not a lot of us, so I really want to open the floor to questions and thoughts that you guys might have, if I can answer it for you. Anybody?
What do you feel the biggest challenge facing healthcare right now?
Okay. So the biggest challenge I'm facing right now as a resident, not only learning all the skills that I have to learn, but because of COVID, everything is because of COVID. But because of COVID, also keeping up with those newer standards and unfortunately, trying to convince patients who have been vaccinated all their lives to add one more vaccine to the host of vaccines that they've been getting for years. There's a lot of stigma, a lot of negative energy, a lot of wrong information, a lot of miscommunication about the COVID vaccine, and unfortunately, that has led to a lot of deaths, a lot of sickness, a lot of, you in healthcare, you only think about people dying, but then you also got to think about what that means for that family. If that was a family with 5 kids and one mom, and mom got COVID and now she's not there, what's gonna happen to the kids? And so, your biggest thing right now is to give people information in a way where you're not making them feel like their opinion is not valid, but also showing them the evidence of why this vaccine might be valid. Why, if you get COVID with the vaccine, you won't be in the CCU with a tube down your throat, but you'll be at home drinking chicken soup. Big difference. So explaining that to people who are just very set in their ways, and I understand it. If someone tells you the wrong thing for a long time, you believe it. And so we have a lot of people right now who don't want the vaccine, and unfortunately it's leading to a lot of people in the hospital very, very sick. So that's the biggest thing I face right now, just because I'm on internal medicine and I have COVID patients. So yeah. Anyone else? Rough. So when you're like in your, I guess, third or fourth year and you're actually working with patients, so you kind of have that responsibility, but you don't because there's a senior doctor or a resident over you. And so you bounce your ideas off of them, and 75% of the time, 50, 60% of the time, you'll be right, but you'll also be wrong a lot of percent of the time. And you'll be like, okay, well, it's because I was a student and I just haven't read that yet, or I just haven't gotten there yet. And then you hit residency and you're like, oh, they gave me this 3/4 length white coat. It's real now. And you still don't know all the answers. And so it's more, I think, your first year of residency, the biggest transition for me is your confidence. You know more than you think. And you're second guessing yourself because you're an intern. And it's like, how dare that be the right answer, Jenna? Don't say that out loud. And then the senior says it, and you're like, you know what, dang it, I was gonna say that, I was right. And so that's the biggest thing I'm dealing with right now in transition, is actually being able to stand behind my decision. And as my chief resident says, he always tells me this, he's like, you have 2 letters behind your name, use them. They mean something. And I'm slowly learning that that is very true. I know more than I think I do, and just asserting my answers and asserting myself and standing behind my choices. Like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do, and it's right. And then the attending saying, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, yes. So that happens, and that's my biggest transition issue that I'm going through right now. I'll tell you how that goes next year. The very thing that you're doing right now. Having these forums, for me, when I was a student, having someone that I can talk to who has been through it, who is where I want to be, was the biggest help for me. Because when you're in med school, all you can think about is, oh, I can't wait until I get back to the States so I can be, a practicing intern. And then when you're an intern, you're like, oh, I can't wait till I graduate so I could be a resident. And now I'm a resident, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to be a third year so I could be up out of this part of my life and get into fellowship. And so I feel like every time you're in a phase, you're waiting for the next phase. And so having somebody who's in that next phase there to talk to you and tell you how they got through, or having that open communication path with someone so that when I do have a question of, okay, it's nearing the end of first year, what should I be doing to prepare for second year, from someone who's in second year and made it, is a huge help. So making those connections, setting up those connections and that line of communication between someone who's been there is the biggest thing for me that could help me. Mm-hmm.
So I've been in healthcare longer now than I have not been in healthcare. And there has definitely been a paradigm shift in the culture of communication and teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to you today, and I can say Dr. Lyn exemplified this. I feel, however, there has been a shift. Your senior resident is the same way. Dr. Light, who is an attending physician, same way, but these are all younger physicians. As I'm sure you're aware, the paradigm differs between some of your older colleagues in medicine and their concept of teamwork, which is definitely lacking, and you all will face that and you have not in your clinical rotation. So how does a younger physician like yourself, like your chief resident, like a Dr. Light, who isn't attending but still, how do you impact that when you all have such great teamwork and communication skills, and you value all of your colleagues in other services, nursing, PT, OT, all that, and it's evident also by the amount of respect the other fields in healthcare value you and enjoy working with you as colleagues. What can you do, and how will you impact that so some of those other physicians who are older yet still practicing can see what a value that brings to the medical field and ultimately to them, to the patient?
Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, let's see, how can I put this? So my mom makes soup whenever I get sick. Her soup comes out better than mine every time. I don't care if I'm sitting right next to her doing the same thing, hers comes out better. Why? She's been doing it longer. And so I'll ask her, what are the tips? Like, what are the little things that you do, and why do you do it so that I can do it to make myself better? Because at the end of the day, if you've been doing something longer, just by trial and error, just by the amount of time you've been doing it, you are better than this than I will be because I'm younger. And that doesn't mean that what I'm doing is not correct, but you might know an efficient way to do it. So, or a more efficient way to do it, or a way to do it where it costs less, or a way to do it where, in terms of medicine, the patient will be here less in the hospital for a shorter amount of stay, or their bill will be reduced, or, you know, you have ways of looking at things, or you've seen how things progress more, and so you're able to recognize the pattern quicker than I am. So it's not necessarily to me that, you know, the generations are different. Yes, they are, but at the same time, because of your experience and expertise, because of the time you have, you might know a better route. And so how do I insert myself into that? We have, like per se in obstetrics, we have an attending, Dr. Light. We also have Dr. Strawbridge. They've been doing this longer than I've been here, period. Like, I think Dr. Strawbridge has delivered over 5,000 babies. I've delivered maybe 45. Clearly, there is a difference there. And so I ask her, you know, why do you do this? When I see her doing something different or see her doing something that I've never seen before, like, why would you do it like this? I ask her. I think asking a question can really break down a lot of barriers that we have. Just because someone's doing something different doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's, you know, something you shouldn't do. Just ask, because you can incorporate it. And so when I have older professionals who are practicing and younger professionals who are practicing, and I'm trying to create myself, my own way of practicing, I'm taking from their experience. I'm taking from, you know, what they know and adding it to what I'm going to do, so that when I'm done, the stamp of my work is a combination of their expertise plus some of the new stuff that I've learned. And together, I feel like that's how you get this evolved form of medicine that comes through. And I think that's everyone's charge as you go through medicine. There's always like an older book like Netter's that, you know, that's a staple. Why would you change it? But then first aid changes every year. And so you take the good, you take the bad, you put them together, and there you have the facts of life, you know? Like, you take a little bit of everything and you make it your own and you apply it like that. And I think that's also how you get your style. That's how you get your style of practice. I read from an older physician in like this intern handbook that he says good morning to everybody in the hospital. He don't care who they are. When he walks by them, he says good morning. It's not because, you know, it's not because he's trying to single everybody out or have a conversation with everybody. It's just a mode of respect. And it's something that I've adopted. And so as I walk through the hospital, I don't care who you are, I say good morning. I'm passing you, I didn't sleep at your house last night, I'm gonna say good morning. It's something I've adopted. I have another patient, I have another doctor. Every time he goes into the room with a patient with me, he finds something particular that they're wearing to comment about, just to start a conversation. I've added that to how I do things. So, you know, I like that suit you got on. It looks very nice with that tie. It starts a conversation. That tie can be a conversation starter, and it breaks down a barrier between me and the patient. And so I feel like as a newer healthcare worker, it is your duty to adopt some of the things that the people before you who have been doing this for years are doing into how you're doing things, so that you can be more well-rounded. You could be a better provider for your patient. I hope that answers your question. My theme song. I'm so honest right now. So every time you start on a new rotation, you don't know what you're waking up to. Every time I get a call to go down to the ED for a new admit, I have no idea what I'm walking into when I get down there. It can literally be 1,000 different scenarios. And for me, hyping myself up is the best way I could say it, but that's the best way I get through the day. I have to keep encouraging myself throughout the day, letting myself know, hey, Jenna, you know what you're doing. Like, there's a reason why you're here, and whatever's on the other side of this door, you can handle it. You're gonna put the picture together, you're gonna put the pieces together, you're gonna ask for help if you need it, and you're gonna get through this. Because at the end of the day, you have completed your training. You know what, you have met the requirement, and you know what you need to know in order to help that patient. And whether you know it once you see it, like, boom, that's COPD, yes, I got it, I could treat this, let's go. Or if it's like, all right, ma'am, I'm gonna go talk to my colleagues and we're gonna make a plan and come back. And in your mind, you're just like, I have no idea where to start. What lab? Did she tell me her dog got it too? I don't even know. Sometimes that's how you feel. And it's like, you know what? Step back, look at what you have, look at your information, reassess it, start from the top. Go with what you think it is and start crossing off reasons why it can't be that. At the end of the day, a pros and cons list never fails. You know, writing out what you have never fails. I can't tell you how much paper I have to shred every day, because sometimes I don't know where to start. And I take out a piece of paper and she said, okay, this, and this, so it can't be this. This, and this, so it can't be this, but it could be this. Run that test. Go with it. And so just taking a fresh look at each patient, stepping back from what you have, you know, stepping back from the problem and looking at the bigger picture, encouraging yourself each time so that you feel that you're confident enough to handle what's on the other side of the door are like the biggest things you can do each time. Because it's just gonna get harder. Every year, COVID is gonna get more difficult. Cancer is gonna get more complicated. HIV is gonna get more complicated. Diabetes stay complicated. That's just it. It's gonna get hard, and it's gonna continue to get hard, and there's no patient who only has one problem. Find the patient who only has diabetes. I dare you. There are none. They got like 6 or 7 issues, and once you fix one, the other 5 are looking at you like, hey, remember he got high blood pressure? That's what you did. And then hyperlipidemia is like, hey, his cholesterol is like 400. What you gonna do about that? Is always an issue, and so you have to be able to step back, look at the larger picture, make your plan, have confidence in your plan, and keep pushing forward. That's the only way you're gonna get through the day, in my opinion.
So, I'm sure you agree that trust is an important part between the practitioner and the patient.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about walking into a room and having a patient from a different ethnic background, maybe a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and needing to serve and to be available and to having to check the bias at the door?
Okay. That's a great question, because right now you're living in a community where you can't walk into a room and see a female and just say she. You can't just put a pronoun on everybody. We're in a different society right now. And your best method to approaching whether this patient is black, white, Hispanic, yellow, brown, blue, you know, speaks Spanish, speaks, you know, Croatian, speaks whatever, blinders. At the end of the day, this is your patient. You find the language that they speak, and you speak that language. And I don't just mean the English coming out of your mouth. I mean how they want to go about their care, how they want to be addressed, who they say they are. You're not there to help them identify themselves. You're there to help treat them. And whoever they identify to you is who they are. You have to it's almost like put a filter on where you don't see their race, you don't see their color, you don't hear their language. All you hear are their complaints, and you are there to answer those complaints. And in the meantime, you fill the picture in. You fill it in as you go along. You address them how they want to be addressed, and you remember your purpose in their health care. Like, sometimes I feel like as providers, we're quick to make assumptions about what's going on, and you can't do that. You can't assume that, okay, you know, this person in the room, you know, is the husband or is the spouse. You have to ask. You have to inquire, and that becomes a task going forward because the climate we live in now is very different, but your best defender is asking and understanding and remembering that you're there to treat, and that's it. not make a decision for them, but give them the information they need to help them get better and keep moving. Yeah. Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me do the first one first. Things that I learned going from St. Kitts to coming here. So St. Kitts has a I love that country first, let me say that. Beautiful country, love the country. They are a laid back people. They are a rush slowly people. And being a New Yorker, I want it now, I want it done the right way, and I don't understand why it has to take this much time. St. Kitts has taught me that you need to slow down. You need to enjoy life. You need to live in the moment. And that was something big for me. You guys are in healthcare. You've made it this far. That's an accomplishment. And St. Kitts taught me to slow down and not accept, but acknowledge how far you've come and how much farther you have to go, but realizing that where you are is an accomplishment. And that's something that I've taken from being there, because a lot of the interactions that I had with locals, with other people, oh, you're going to be a doctor, that's so amazing, that's wonderful. You don't realize how much it is to go into medicine, into any field of medicine. It's like having a superpower. It's like going to Hogwarts. Like, it's awesome. And that's your superpower. And being able to have that and possess that knowledge is an accomplishment. It's a lot. And so learning to slow down and actually acknowledge how much I've accomplished is something that I really took from St. Kitts, as well as having a new vacation spot. I go as often as I can. And then the second part of your question, working with other people from other schools, that's huge. I'm an IMG, that means International Medical Graduate, and off bat, a lot of institutions, I don't want to say don't recognize it, but it's almost like you're a second-tier doctor. It's almost like they second-guess what you know because you didn't go to school here, even though I took the same board exams that the U.S. students took, and I passed it, and I'm in the same residency program as other U.S. medical students. And so, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And with that, to deal with that, this is a very street term, but you're always gonna have haters. That's fine. Jesus had haters, and look what he did with his life. I mean, seriously. So you're always gonna have haters, and that's fine. But at the same time, I'm interested, because I like to travel, I'm interested in other people's experiences. And so there are 5 interns in my class, and 4 of us went to international medical schools. We were all on different countries. We were all in different islands. We left the US to go somewhere different and train. I wanna know how it was. I want to know what they did differently. And just asking people, I keep telling y'all, asking questions really breaks down a lot of barriers. There's no stupid question. I don't care. What money did y'all use? What currency did you guys use? What did you guys do for fun? What was your favorite food on the island? I want to know. That information helps me. And it also we have a bond because we were all IMGs. We understand each other because we all went through that process and have the extra paperwork and, had to pack our lives up and leave. That's an experience that we shared, that we have, that is very different from a student who went to school in the US. And there's no shade if you went to school in the US, more power to you, you didn't have to go far. But there is a certain sense of pride that I have that I left my home country and moved to another country for 2 years and learned medicine and survived. And I'm gonna throw it in there because he asked me to, and met my husband, there's a lot that I took from that, and it just adds to who I am, and it makes me a more well-rounded person, the same way it makes my co-interns well-rounded people. And it's just more information that I'm eager to learn about them and from them. Mm-hmm. 100%. I did all of my rotations in Atlanta. Atlanta is a mostly African-American community. That's just what it is. I am now in Abingdon. It is the complete opposite. Do I feel a type of way? No, because I'm fire, and I know it. And so that's my having my self-confidence to know, like, that's just who I am. And you don't have to like me, but I'm the doctor. And I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do that job. And, you know, if you want to request another provider, that's fine. If you don't, I'll keep seeing you, see you in 2 weeks. I mean, everyone's not going to like you. And at the end of the day, that's just something you have to realize. And it doesn't have to do anything with your color sometimes. It doesn't have to do anything with that. They may just not vibe with you, and that's fine. There are too many sick people in here for me to say, to lament over one person who didn't want me to be their doctor. Look at the hospital. It's full of people. I have a job to do. I'm here to do my job. If you don't like it, there's another worker who could work with you. But honest to God, we don't have time for that right now. We are in a pandemic, and that is what it is. So you're going to face obstacles like that. You're going to face people who might just don't want to work with you. Or I literally had my first rotation in med school. I will never forget this, and it's funny because I ended up in family medicine. My family medicine rotation, I had a preceptor at that time who was also an IMG, and it was my first day. And when I told him that I was an IMG, I'm gonna show you guys what he did. He did this. And I was flabbergasted. I was just like, well, excuse me, with your Ross degree on the wall. Like, you are an IMG as well. And you know what? I like challenges, so I had to prove myself, right? I had to make sure that all my notes were complete. I had to, for a lack of a better term, stick it to them. If you don't think I can do it, I'm going to show you how well I can do it and give you no other reason to doubt me. And so I take it as a challenge. I love a challenge. Challenge me to do something, because to me, it means you're doubting my ability. And that right there, as a Christian, means that you're doubting God, and that's a problem with me. And so I love me a challenge. That's it. Anyone else? Well, I will give Dr. Holloway my email address. If you guys have any questions, if you need anything that I can assist you with, I don't mind. I'm here to answer questions. Everyone needs a question answered at some point. Everyone needs somebody to reach out to. He can give you guys my email address, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the hospital on the floor someday.
Thank you, Dr. Lyn, and I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. I'm actually thinking of trying to establish what my hype song is going to be for myself. So anyway, thank you very much. Have a great day.